Hello, I'm Teacher Robin. Welcome to another live streaming class. If this is your first time to join us, let me explain how the classes work. Today we're going to talk about irregular verbs in the workplace. If you have a question during the class, you can write your question in the comment section and I'll answer it throughout the class. And I also have a few questions for you at the end of the lesson to check what you've learned, and you can write your answers in the comment section as well. So before we get started with today's topic, let's review what we learned in last week's class in case you missed it. I had a special guest, Marina, from here in our office to join us, and we talked about how to learn modal verbs through songs. So we gave you some tips on how to learn through song lyrics, and then we looked at the different modal verbs. So these are can, could, may, might, will, shall, should, and must. Okay, so if you missed the class and you want to watch it, go to the video section of our Facebook page, and there you can find all of our previous classes, so you can watch them again as many times as you need to, or you can share them on your own Facebook page or tag someone you think might want to watch the class as well. So today we're going to talk about irregular verbs in the workplace, but first let's remember, or let's remind ourselves of the difference between regular and irregular verbs in case you've forgotten. So first, what is a regular verb? So regular verbs in the past, we simply add the ending ed, and this is the same for the past simple as well as the past participle. So here we have the verb walk is a regular verb, and so it's simply walk, walked, walked. Okay, so now regular verbs do not have this form. You do not simply add ed. There are many different kinds of irregular verbs and groups. So some of them, all three forms are identical. So the infinitive, the past simple, and the past participle are all the same. For some irregular verbs, the present and the past participle are the same. For some, the past simple and the past participle are the same, or for some, all three forms are different. So these are the different kinds of groups, and now we're going to look at some specific examples related to work, okay? So let's start with, before we do that, let's look at some tips for memorization, okay? So how can we memorize these irregular verbs, because there are so many in the English language, okay? So I recommend choose a dozen or 10, 12, and try to memorize that small group every day, okay? One thing you can do is you can write them down several times over and over again, and that's one way that it sticks in your memory, or you can try making sentences with them. So that's what I'm going to show you today, is some examples of irregular verbs as well as a sentence with that irregular verb. Okay, so let's look at our first ones. I see that some people are joining us. Ham, Lucia, Sakwe, and Paul say hello. Okay, thank you so much for joining. Please, if you have a question, make sure you write it in the comments. All right, so our first irregular verb is to lead. Okay, so here, this is one where the past simple and the past participle are the same. So the infinitive is lead, and then the past simple led, past participle led. Okay, so a work-related example, I led last week's meeting with the investors. Okay, now to cost, this is an example where all three forms are the same. So cost, cost, cost. For example, this investment cost the company $400,000. Okay, to meet, all right, meet, met, met. So an example where the past forms are the same. We met the top manager last month. Okay, to choose. Choose, chose, chosen. So here all three forms are different. Okay, remember this N at the end, choose, chose, and chosen. For example, my team's proposal was chosen as the winner. Okay, to write. Write, wrote, written. Okay, so all three forms are different. I wrote an email to my team with instructions. Okay, to deal. Deal, dealt, dealt. Okay, so the past forms are the same. For example, we only deal with companies with good credit records. All right, now that we've looked at some examples of irregular verbs, let's look at irregular phrasal verbs. So remember, a phrasal verb is made up of a verb and another article, so like an adverb, for example, or a preposition. Okay, so for example, to bring forward, this is a phrasal verb, which means to discuss a topic, to mention something. Okay, so for example, the infinitive is to bring forward. Here, we only conjugate the verb. So the forward is going to stay the same, but the verb to bring is irregular, so the past simple form is brought, and the past participle is brought as well. So for example, Judy brought forward a good idea regarding the deal with the new client. Let's see another phrasal verb, to fall through. Okay, if something falls through, it means that it doesn't happen, it's canceled, for example. Okay, so the verb to fall is irregular, so we have fall through, fell through, and fallen through. Okay, so this is another example with an in ending in the past participle. Okay, for example, the deal fell through when another company made the client a better offer. Okay, and to take over. So the verb to take is irregular, so to take over, took over, taken over. Okay, the asset management company took over the bank's loans. Okay, so now that we have given you some examples of irregular verbs as well as irregular phrasal verbs, I want you to practice. So I hope you remember the past simple and the past participle. And I want you to tell me in the comments, which verbs do you use at work? So do you use many of these verbs at work, or do you can you think of some other ones that you also use? And then I want you to practice by telling me or writing a sentence with an irregular verb, and then write a sentence with an irregular phrasal verb. So choose one and see if you can write a sentence with it. Okay? As you are doing that, let me tell you more about our course. Here at ABBA, we have a complete course from beginners to business level, featuring 144 units. Each unit has a short film, a video class explaining the grammar, and exercises for you to practice all of your skills, reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So if you want to sign up for our course, you can do that through our website. So there you can, if you want to start as a free student, you'll have access to all of the video classes as well as the first unit of each level. And then if you want to go premium, you'll have access to the first, to all of the course content as a premium student, and you'll be assigned a teacher like me who you can write to anytime you have a question. So in addition to our course, we have many other resources available to you. We have our blog, our ABBA journal. So there you can find articles about grammar, culture, English for business, English for travel, any topic that you can imagine, even more information about today's topic, irregular verbs in the workplace. And we're also on all of the social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. I highly recommend you check out our Instagram account if you have one, because we are posting new information every day, little quick tips and videos, and it's really useful, so I highly recommend that. Okay, so let's see who else has joined us and if they have any questions. Lidmila, Christopher, and Dimitri say hello. Okay, great. So feel free